Today, I am welcomed to have Zach Miller on for a special interview on draft day. How you doing, Zach?
What's up, brother?
Um, Nothing, just chilling. Mixed
Nice.
emotions today for draft day as a Texans fan.
Very
Excited,
cool.
nervous.
Hey, I
Um,
think that's about every team in the NFL right now. Every fan of every team in the NFL gets nervous on draft day because it's a crapshoot.
yeah, but it's a little different for Texans fans because they're always messing it up for us. But every team is always nervous. What's your plan for draft night tonight? What's going
Um,
on in the Miller household?
11-year-old baseball, man. We got
Oh,
we got
you
we got
watching?
11-year-old
So you're not
baseball going on. What's that?
watching the draft tonight?
Yeah, I'll watch it once I get home. I got three young kiddos, man, so we're running around crazy with them, and then once we get them settled, I'll come back and turn into football guy instead of being dad for a little bit.
Yeah. Um. So what I want to get to first is so you played 3 seasons with the Chicago Bears, and they have a big selection tonight at 9. Is there like have you been looking a little bit at mock drafts? Is there anything you want your Bears to do tonight?
Uh, I mean, I'm an offensive guy, so a lot of what I want to do is offensive minded.
Right.
I think the biggest thing is protecting Justin. Um, if we address that early, that'll be good for our franchise. Um, and then it's just I think with what Poles and his staff are really good at doing is hopefully identifying talent. And it's always this is the old like take the best player available, right?
Right.
And then you find out how they fit into your system. So that's what they get paid to do. It's one of those things we all look from the outside in. We don't get all the information that they got, and they have every single guy ranked on their draft board. They got every player in every position ranked in order, and if they're a best available, that's just what they're going to take. I don't know if Jalen Carter falls to us at 9.
Yeah, that's
You
something
there?
I'm wondering. And my I did last night I did a last mock draft and I had Carter at 8, the
Yeah,
Falcons. And I think if Paris Johnson Jr. falls to 9 to the Bears, I don't think you pass on him for you gotta
right,
pick Justin. That's the number one priority.
right.
But if Johnson is taken in the first 8 and Carter falls to 9, there's no the Bears gotta take Jalen Carter.
Got him. So
Um,
at least we got the first one out of the way.
yeah. All right. Um, then who do you think is going to go number one as well?
Oh gosh.
I
I
personally
mean,
hope CJ, but I know it's gonna be Bryce, but
I hands down agree that it should be Bryce Young. I mean, I don't think why you wouldn't. Take size out of it, take everything else out of it, and just look at a football player and what he's done and where he's coming from and where he's been exposed to. I don't see how you pass up on that. Um, but we'll see what they do. That's I don't know when it'll come in. Sometimes a lot of guys know when the first pick's already done.
yeah. Bryce is a talented quarterback, and I think that uh, you know, for me, it's very hard because the Panthers. It felt like they were up and down about the decision. At first, it felt like they were going CJ Stroud at 1, and now a couple weeks have passed, and now they're on Bryce Young.
Right.
It's kind of the flips.
Now that could be games too.
Right.
That could be there's games that are played here.
Right.
There's within general managers and they don't want people to know exactly what they're doing. Um, and so there's a little bit of gamesmanship behind it. But uh that first pick, like there's sometimes there's a general consensus of like, all right, this is a guy and then that whole thing gets kind of slotted early on. This one's just up in the air.
Yeah, like that's what I saw on ESPN last night. They're like, well, and like Trevor Lawrence is drafted. You knew Trevor Lawrence was going to 1, or other guys. You knew they were going to 1.
Yeah.
You have no idea what's about to happen. And it's not just like that number 1. It's the whole draft. You don't know I mean,
Right.
so
That's what it makes it. Now this one's going to be interesting. The whole first round will be crazy.
yeah, it's going to be I think one of the most interesting drafts. And I don't, okay, in my time, I've been watching drafts since like 2016, 2017. I think this is gonna
Okay.
be one of the most interesting drafts I've ever watched. I think it's gonna be, a lot of shockers. I think it's gonna be a really good night. I'm really excited, but I'm also really nervous to add that too. My next question is, with all these draft stories and all the getting to hear all these stories and you know, like, well, you're not going to hear, these new guys' stories, draft day stories yet. But can you like kind of go into like your draft story when you got
Yeah.
drafted by the Jaguars in 2009?
Um, Gosh, I don't even know if it was 3 days or 2 days back then. I think it was 2 days. I don't even remember because now it's like Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
Right.
right? 3 days or 4 days now?
It's three. It's
Okay, 3 days. So I think it
two
used to be
nights and then
two.
one afternoon.
Yeah. So it used to be two. And I wasn't even know if I was going to get drafted. I mean, there was some talks of, late rounder. I think I had one phone call like right around the third round from the St. Louis Rams, and I was like, oh, holy smokes.
Right.
Did somebody mess up their entire draft and take me in the third round? So we were just hanging out at the house. I had all my close family and friends over, and we're just chilling. I wasn't sure I was going to get drafted because 2 days before my pro day, I blew my thumb out on my throwing hand. I was a college quarterback, so I had no idea what to expect. Um, I did take a pre-draft visit to Jacksonville, so I knew I was on their radar. Um, Mike Tice was the assistant head coach at that time, tight end coach. He came to my pro day. And I think if you know Mike Tice's story, he was college quarterback turned NFL tight end. So I think he saw a lot of himself in me. And so there was like just this connection. And when I got that phone call, that it was actually a buddy of mine that called. His name was Jake Peets, and him and I were teammates at Nebraska. He was in the scouting department at that time. And so he calls me and I'm like, what the heck is Jake calling me for? And he's like, hey buddy, just want to let you know we're gonna make you the next Jacksonville Jaguar. And I was like, no way. And I didn't confirm anything over the phone because I wanted everybody in the house to see the pick come through on the ticker first. And so we're just kind of talking. I was hem-hawing around. I was like, yeah, trying to contain my excitement. And then when we came across the board, the whole house just went crazy. So
That's
it was fun. We did that, celebrated at the house for a little bit, and then we went back to my mom and dad's. I'm from a town of 300 people. So we bought like the biggest bottles of Grey Goose we could possibly get. Went back to my mom and dad's, and we had like a whole town party and tore it up for the night.
that's a really cool draft story.
It was fun.
So what's that? With the later rounds, it's like, I don't know. This is how I feel, but I don't know how it was back then. But like watching the later rounds now, I mean, it goes by so quick to the point where like I'll look down and then it's like five picks later. I mean, was back then where it goes like nowadays the later picks and the later rounds go like so fast. Was it like that back then? I know this.
I mean, some of them you get picked over commercial break. They go
Yeah,
so fast now.
that's like still be a commercial break, and then that's what I'm talking about. Like,
Yeah. It was like that back then. I mean, I had a buddy of mine, Terrence Knighton, who the Jags picked in the third round. So he was our third round pick in 2009. He got drafted over a commercial break in the third round. I know that because I just saw the Huskers. He coaches for the Huskers now, and they just did a draft story on him. And so I watched the video last night, and it wasn't as fast as it is now because now it's like you're on the clock
even faster.
and you're going. So I don't know those late rounds. You got to roll the dice, be ready to go.
So it's like, imagine if you miss a phone call
Oh gosh,
from that team, and then it's on commercial break, and then you don't even know that you were drafted.
yeah. You're like, did I get picked or not?
Yeah,
I think most guys, and I was not as well prepared for this. I was prepared for the draft, but like most guys had like two or three phones because there's been instances where two people would be calling the same phone at the same time and you miss another one. So you handed out multiple phone numbers and they got multiple ways to reach out to you. But I just had one phone and luckily was able to get the call when it came through. But it was a fun weekend. It's one of those things that every year the draft comes around, you get to relive it again. We videotaped it, and we got 2009 videotape. I'm talking like no nice camera phones or no HD stuff. This was like an old handheld video recorder. You probably ain't even want to seen one of those in your life, buddy.
Well, maybe.
I don't know.
My parents used to do like videos when I was like 3 or 4.
I'm sure Big J Lou has one of those old
Probably.
camcorders.
Um, but going back to something you said about your draft story. So you were originally a quarterback. How was that
Yeah.
transition like from quarterback to tight end?
It was crazy. Mentally, being a quarterback helped me so much because I could see the field. I understood timing. And so when they drafted me, I was our emergency quarterback in Jacksonville for probably the 3-4 years that I was there. We only dressed two most of the time, and then I would be our emergency quarterback if I needed that. But the transition physically was the biggest part because I mean I'd never had my hand on the ground, never blocked defensive ends, So it took me a while to adjust to the physicality part of it and learn the technique. I'd say I started turning the corner my third season. Those first 2 years, Mike Tice used to say, "Hey, go use your athletic ability. Use what your mama gave you," is what he used to tell me. So I was just out there running around playing ball. My third year, I started dialing in on the technique and those things, and that's kind of when I started to at least turn the corner and feel like I could play the position.
Right. Um, Wait, so you played quarterback for your whole life up until the NFL?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's a hard transition.
It was crazy.
Wow. I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah.
That I mean, just like the switch. I mean, it's just to switch up you've been doing one thing for your whole life, and then you gotta for what 20 years, and then you have to switch it up.
Complete different game. Like the whole game of football changed.
Yeah.
You're playing QB, you get touch the ball every play. You know what I mean? Like that's fun. You're in command of the huddle. You ain't really getting hit in practice. If you do get hit, coaches are like, stay away from that guy. Don't touch him, hands off the QB. So it's just a position that I think is the best position in all the sports. And to leave that behind, and I don't know if you know what backup quarterbacks get paid in the NFL these days. I don't have many regrets, but playing QB would have been sweet.
Quarterback, I mean, backup. The Texans paid like Case Keenum like to get 2 year, $10 million deal. He's not going to be doing anything. So yeah, backup quarterbacks do get paid pretty well.
It's crazy.
So my next question is through your 6 years in the NFL, 3 with the Jags, 3 with the Bears, what was your favorite moment in your career? Favorite touchdown, favorite, catch, whatever.
I gotta go. Probably one-hander on Monday Night Football.
Oh, really?
I was in Chicago, 2015.
Yeah, I'm
We
not
were
even for
playing, we were
sure.
playing the Chargers on Monday Night Football. Late in the game, I think it's like 2 minutes and some seconds left, and we're marching. And I had shoot, I only had one catch for like -2 yards at that point in the game, just doing all the dirty work. And finally got to a point. I think Martellus got tired on that drive and needed a break. And I go into the huddle, and then the next play call, I was like, "Ooh, we're scoring here. I know it." Got in the red zone. I run a seam up the right side of the football field, and split safeties. He went to double Alshon, and I ran right up the middle, and Cuddy just threw a rocket right over the top of the linebacker's head, and I plucked it up one-handed to score and win the game. So that's probably my favorite memory as far as the touchdown goes.
Well, you said Martellus. Martellus Bennett,
Yeah,
Martin Bennett?
yeah, Marty.
Oh wow. I've met Marty like 2 times.
Yeah, he's a stud.
He's an awesome dude. My mom, so he lives in Houston. He's from Houston.
Yep.
So my mom is in carpet business. It's like this company called Robert's Carpet,
Okay.
and it's actually really funny. My godfather at the time was living right across the street, and me and my dad were staying with my godfather. his wife was out of town.
Uh-huh.
And I get this text from my mom that says, "There's this football player named Marty here. Come walk over and just act like you're just no, yeah, act like you're just stopping by and say hello." And I talked with him for about 30 minutes, maybe longer, and he was
Yeah.
one of the coolest guys. I mean, he has a lot of knowledge, and he doesn't really like to talk about football that much.
Oh no.
He's and talked about his books and all the charities. He's just a really cool guy. So it was you said Martellus. I'm like, I
Yeah.
know Marty.
He's
So
one of the most creative people I've ever met. Incredible athlete, incredible football player, but more than a football player.
I mean, I
Great
think
writer, great artist,
he has
designer. I mean, he does everything.
I mean, talking with him, he was like, yeah, he brought all that stuff, and you know, he was so interested. I mean, he just met me, and he was like so interested in everything. I mean, he was, he wanted to make sure I start because I don't read that much, so he wanted to make sure I started reading more. So he
Yeah,
started giving me book ideas for me to read, and then
that's cool.
he calls my mom back to talk about business, and he random asked, "Well, is Jordan starting to read those books?" He's just such a cool guy. But when he said that, I'm like, is he talking about Marty?
Yeah,
Um,
he's a good dude.
so one of my last questions, you have a music single coming out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Did you go into some details about that song and everything that's going on in your music career currently?
Oh man. So obviously towards the end of my career when I got hurt, I needed an outlet and I turned to music. I'd never considered being a musician or writing songs or doing whatever, but spent too much time in a hospital bed and I needed to get away from it. So I started writing and it just kind of turned into something I love. So put on my first song, shoot, probably a year and a half ago or something like that, and have just constantly just been trying to figure out who I am as a writer, as a performer, and I absolutely love it. It's one of those things that has really fulfilled me since football because once that's all you do for your entire life, when it's gone, you're like, who am I now? Um, and so it's just been a really good process. I got 6 songs out. One actually comes out tonight at midnight. It's called Romance with Me. Uh, and it's about, the phrase shoot or shoot, you know,
Yeah, I'm basketball player.
hey, shoot or shoot, regardless if you're feeling it or not. If you're in a slump, you just got to get out of it. It's about liking a girl and finally getting the courage to just lay it out on the line and tell her you like her and that you want to be with her and you want this relationship. And it's just about chasing that relationship. And it's called Romance with Me. So whatever else you got going on, I was like, listen, romance with me, and that's where I got the title. I wanted her to be with me, and it's really a trip down memory lane. A lot of the stuff that I write, really everything I've written, has been from a personal standpoint. So uh, I love it. I love the creative process of making music and putting music out. Not sure where it's going to go. I know I'm just scratching the surface of who I want to be, and I'm just enjoying the ride and having a ton of fun. But I'm not going to stop till I get to where I want to be as an artist. So it's a fun journey.
Right. I already knew that that song was coming out tonight. Well, I thought it was tomorrow, but
Well, yeah, technically, a technicality. It comes out midnight on Friday, so tonight at midnight.
so I want to tell you that I'm really excited for the song to drop, and I'm gonna watch it as soon as it comes out. And
Let's
I
go.
want to tell you basically is I don't have a lot of knowledge about country music, but I
Yeah,
do a little with my dad being in the business.
right.
What I want to tell you is like if you have any dreams, um like like if you have an ultimate goal, go for it. So
Oh yeah, bro. That's me
I've
too.
I've
That's
heard
me
some
to a
clips
T.
on your Insta, and what I can tell you is you're an incredible artist, and you have a lot of talent. So
I appreciate that so much,
sky's the
man.
limit with music.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. Um, so that's really it with my questions. I really appreciate for you taking the time, Zach, for just sitting down with me and talking. and you don't even know how much I appreciate it.
Oh, that's cool, bro. Anytime, man. It was a
Um,
pleasure.
it was a pleasure talking to you. Enjoy your kids' baseball and enjoy the draft too. And thank you so much for talking with me.
Absolutely, brother.
All right. Have a great rest of the day, Zach. Thank you
You
so
too,
much.
man.